Why did Bitcoin crash here? Price was inches from the all-time high 2 days in a row. Then what happened? I'm CTO Larsson. I think I have the answer, and it's likely not what you think. Was it this tweet from Brian Armstrong? No, I don't think so. I have so many great friends in the US, and a cute thing with Americans is that many subconsciously think that the world starts on Long Island and ends in Seattle. I like to use this chart to understand the world. Number of mobile subscriptions in millions from the Ericsson Mobility Report. North America, which includes Canada, is here. Europe, which I'm part of, is this tiny bar over here. Then, if we look downwards, we see this blue bar. Asia Pacific excluding China and India. Then China here, India, Nepal, Bhutan here. Okay, as you see, these together are pretty big. I'm in Stockholm, Sweden now, but I've lived 10 years in Asia, and almost all Westerners constantly underestimate Asia. There's a lot of people there, guys, and they're not living in a beach hut. Let's now go back and look at the Bitcoin price in more detail. What happened was to many very unexpected. Price was going very strong here. On November 24th, it hit 19,442, then backed up a little bit. Then the next day, on November 25th, it crossed over that high and was up at 19,490. And I was excited here. Usually I trade larger time frames, but this time I was glued to the screen. That fun lasted only 6 minutes before price started backing up. Price then completed this double top by breaking down this neckline at 18,640, and we got this bigger drop of 16% from the top. So what happened? Usually I like to analyze the price action, not get caught up in why it happened. But I feel there is such a big learning here. I read on Twitter that most people attribute the drop to this tweet from Brian Armstrong, CEO of Coinbase in the US. Last week we heard rumors that the US Treasury and Secretary Mnuchin were planning to rush out some new regulation regarding self-hosted crypto wallets before the end of his term. I'm concerned that this would have unintended side effects and wanted to share those concerns. He tweeted this at 12:41 AM on November 26th, my time zone, which makes it 11:41 PM November 25th UTC. Around here. But this rejection from the top had already happened, and this dip below the neckline too. And the bigger problem with this theory is exactly what he writes here. Last week we heard rumors, so that was already known. And in fact, I remember this has been up for discussion for 1 year, so this wasn't new, and there are always ideas to regulate Bitcoin differently. Would the big holders panic sell their Bitcoin because of this? I doubt it. Still, it was the best US-centric explanation. But remember this. Here something else was cooking. OKX. They have had their huge exchange closed for withdrawals through this entire bull run. Something with a Chinese state and a key holder was not available. So, through this entire bull run, there has been millions of Asians, millionaires and billionaires, biting their fingernails, not knowing if those withdrawals will ever open up, or if this will be another case of an exchange saying, we lost your Bitcoin, sorry. Look here in this article on Nasdaq. Ki-Yong Yu, Chief Executive Officer of CryptoQuant, said in a tweet, the reopening of withdrawal service on OKX could cause price volatility because of bulk withdrawal requests. This article is from November 24th, well before the dump. Here we see the tweet from OKX, posted 6 AM November 26th, my time zone, which is 5 AM UTC. I don't know if the actual opening was a little earlier than the tweet, but for sure it was known in the inner circle earlier that the opening was going ahead. So a few hours earlier was here. And for sure this was known at the peak here. So now imagine, you've sat since October 16th, when Bitcoin price was 11,000, not knowing if you've gotten rich or if you've lost all your money because some guy or the Chinese state took it. Then it turns out you're actually getting it back. Wouldn't you want to take at least most of your money out? Of course you would. So people started selling and withdrawing money here, which started off this dip. And then of course it gets self-reinforcing when stop losses hit, etc. So while you couldn't predict Brian's tweet, this was announced beforehand. I did one mistake myself, or I would have played this even better. OKX had previously announced reopening on November 27th, as it also says in this article. So I thought we had one more day before full dump protection must be in place. But then they opened one day earlier. Still, I kind of expected something like this could happen, and I talked to my friends about it before the dump, so this is not an after construction. The learning from this video is: don't underestimate Asia. Just because the loudest influencers on Twitter are mostly Westerners, do not confuse that with who moves the market. If you want YouTube to tell you when I have a new video, you have to do 5 things. Like, comment, subscribe, bell, and watch the next video. Thank you, tack. CTO Larsson out. Hej då!